Hello and a very good morning. It's 7 a.m. and this is Mornings with Jones and Melbourne. I'm Anna.
And I am Kamali. Thank you for starting your day with us. This is how things are looking.
A serving prison governor tells us the public is being put at risk with more inmates being sent to minimal security prisons.
There are a large number of prisoners in open prisons now that we would not have considered suitable 2 or 3 years ago.
Meanwhile, the Justice Secretary David Lammy is facing questions with the manhunt for a mistakenly released foreign sex offender ongoing.
Elon Musk is on track for a $1 trillion pay packet with Tesla, but with some pretty hefty targets attached.
Well, no spoilers for now, but soon we'll be speaking to the Traitors finalist David Olusoga after that nail-biting finale.
Which we haven't seen yet. Also, we sit down with Jennifer Lawrence after her return to film, talking about how motherhood has changed her and the way people see her. Hello, a very good morning. Thanks for joining us here today. A serving prison governor has told us the British public is being put at risk with more inmates being moved to minimal security prisons. Overcrowding in higher security jails has led to policy changes which mean more prisoners are eligible for a transfer to what's called open conditions earlier on their sentence.
Yeah, it'll be an embarrassing admission for the government, which is currently dealing with that manhunt of a mistakenly released foreign sex offender. Well, our correspondent, Molly Malone, has a story and a warning. Molly's report includes a woman's story of being violently attacked by someone who's now being moved to one of these open prisons.
It's only by some miracle, because they can't explain how I'm alive. They literally said he hit all my major organs when he stabbed me, so I should be dead. So should my little one.
Natalie was 8 months pregnant when she was stabbed 24 times by her ex-partner. He was sentenced to 18 years for attempted murder, but is now due to be transferred to an open prison 4 years earlier than planned, as part of changes to the security categorisation of inmates.
Any day now, my ex, who created this untold horror, is about to go into an open prison. And that's at 9.5 years, and it just doesn't feel right. It's terrifying, and it doesn't also feel like justice, if I'm honest.
How does it make you feel, given what you've gone through?
Hurt, angry, let down. It's bad enough the sentence was lower than we expected. So it's like a double whammy.
Natalie is not alone, as policy changes mean more offenders are being transferred to lower security jails.
Open prisons like this one in Sussex are by definition open with minimal security. Inmates are free to cross public roads. They're free to go out on day release, and traditionally prisoners would come to an open prison right at the end of their sentence in preparation for life outside. But with overcrowding in higher security jails, we're seeing more and more offenders transferred to prisons like this earlier in their sentence.
And there are warnings that these policy changes are not without risk. This is a serving prison governor. He's speaking to us on behalf of the Prison Governors Association.
There are a large number of prisoners in open prisons now that we would not have considered suitable 2 or 3 years ago.
Do you feel that public safety is at risk with these changes?
It has to be. There has to be a level of public safety that's at risk when you're taking prisoners into an open prison with limited physical barriers who maybe shouldn't be there, and then who are able to walk out, who are able to leave at any point. So there has to be a increased risk for the public.
Here's an example. Look at this appeal from Sussex Police. This is Ola Abimola, a foreign national offender who was serving a 21-year sentence for kidnap and GBH. He absconded from an open prison weeks ago and hasn't returned. The police say they're working to find him.
Do you feel safe?
No, is the honest answer. When I had the news that he had been approved for open prison, it just absolutely knocked me for six.
Against the odds, both Natalie and her young child survived the attack. She says she understands the problems prisons face, but her priority is feeling safe.
Well, Molly is here with us now. Hi there, Molly. And we've been talking a lot this week about the wrongful release of prisoners, haven't we? But this latest warning raises different issues, doesn't it?
Yeah, different issues, but look, people will look at this, right, and think public safety is at risk is what they're hearing. And I think what we've seen this week has been a really visual reminder of some of the problems. Releases in error, essentially. They happen a lot. We had 262 in the last year, but Hadish Kabati, the Ethiopian asylum seeker that was mistakenly freed a couple of weeks ago now, well, his case really brought to the fore the issues. New checks were brought in, but still we're seeing 2 people that were mistakenly freed in the last 10 days or so. One of them, an Algerian national, is still on the run. The government facing plenty of questions about what's going on. But as you say, the story today is similar but slightly different, because while those are releases, terribly visual, symbolic reminder of problems, actually what we're talking about today is purposeful policy changes. So because of overcrowding in open prisons, they're transferring more and more people, sometimes more serious criminals, much earlier in their sentence to these open prisons. Some people will be familiar with open prisons, but you saw in my report, I tried to sort of illustrate the fact that people can walk from place to place, they can go out on day release. That's what they're entitled to do, because the idea is that you're trying to sort of rehabilitate people, prepare them for reintegration back into society. But that governor, in my report, it's very rare for them to speak out. I should say he was doing so in the capacity with the trade union. But he's obviously really worried about what's going on. It's these people, it's the staff that have to manage it. Many of the staff, they point out that they feel, scapegoated when things go wrong, and they're issuing warnings that the right people aren't being transferred to these open prisons. The government say that a risk assessment is in place. Well, actually, the governor that I spoke to was saying that often they're kind of an algorithm tick box. We have had a response from the government. They said the small number of offenders eligible for moves to open prison face a strict, thorough risk assessment, and anyone found breaching the rules can be immediately returned to a closed prison. We're keeping the most dangerous offenders off the streets by expanding prison capacity with 14,000 new places by 2031 and introducing sentencing reforms to force prisoners to earn their way to release or face longer in jail for bad behaviour. So there's lots of change going on, lots of problems. Clearly, they want to make it clear that they're trying to deal with it, but the reality is that it's very immediate and visual problems that are happening right now.
Absolutely, Molly, really interesting, thank you. And it is so interesting, as Molly was saying there, Kamali, that we've talked a lot this week about prisoners being mistakenly released. Now we've got this warning about the risk of people absconding when they're sent to open prisons as well. And I think, the debate has got quite kind of focused on outdated systems, failed bureaucracy this week. And this is a real reminder, isn't it, that there are victims here, and there's the public that might be a bit concerned about their own safety.
I'm glad you mentioned that word victims, because in Molly's report we heard from Natalie, didn't we? And she sort of lays bare exactly the concern about this, because it's not as if these individuals who are being released are completely able to walk around freely as they are at this point. These are people who have been sent to prison for reasons, for long offences. I mean, the one on the run at the moment is sex offenders on the sex offenders register. And the police, of course, and the Justice Department, Justice system will be hoping that they can apprehend them as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. The Justice Secretary are under a lot of pressure. We'll be talking to the government shortly and we'll raise some of these issues with him. Now then, we're going to be spoiler-free.
We are. We're not going to
Not
talk
least
about
because Kamali hasn't watched any of the series yet.
Trying not to.
We can't not talk about last night's final, though, of the final episode of The Traitors.
Now, as finales go, it was incredibly nail-biting, I'm told. A star-studded showdown with Alan Carr, Joe Marler, David Olasoga, Kat Burns and Nick Mohammed. Now, look, the point is, I am trying to save this Celebrity Traitors for Christmas to watch it with the family, but I don't know how I am intending to do that. It's only November. I've got a month and a bit left.
You must already know pretty much who the finalists are, don't you?
I have to read the newspapers, of course, and yes, I've seen, and I know the result. I mean, it's a magnificent show, and I'm very pleased to say we're going to be speaking to one of those finalists later, aren't we?
We are. We've got David Olasoga coming on the show a little bit later. There may be spoilers when we get to that interview, but none before that, we can assure you.
As possibly can be. All right. Now, Elon Musk is on course for a $1 trillion pay packet after the board of Tesla approved his deal. Now, although there are some ambitious targets attached, it does mean that Mr. Musk is already the world's richest man and could become the world's first trillionaire.
Yeah, doesn't sound bad, does it? Let's bring in Sadia on this. I mean, $1 trillion, it is a huge amount of money, but there are conditions.
Yes, of course. So it's not like Elon Musk is just going to turn up to work and then get $1 trillion and become a trillionaire overnight. There are caveats, there are performance targets and benchmarks that he has to meet. And this is over the next 10 years. Right. So essentially, it's tying him into the company for 10 years, because I think the shareholders realise what happens when Elon Musk is distracted and his focus is shifted from Tesla. So here are some of the benchmarks that he has to meet. And again, I say this is over the next 10 years. He has to sell 20 million vehicles, 10 million active full self-driving subscriptions. That's where there is completely self-driving cars, 1 million robo-taxis and 1 million humanoid robots. And by the way, none of these robots have even been ordered yet or have gone on sale. And the robo-taxi prototypes are still being driven with people inside them right now for safety. So there is a long way to go for Tesla, but it's also a company that's not doing very well. As you might have seen, sales and revenues have dropped for Tesla cars. Many people you might have seen were boycotting Tesla at the start of the year. It also faces potential billions of dollars in lost revenue because of the US government's reduction in support for electric vehicles. So it is a bit of a steep uphill climb for him. And this was his reaction to the biggest pay package in corporate history. Elon Musk said, "I super appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. What we're about to embark upon is not merely a new chapter on the future of Tesla, but a whole new book." But for $1 trillion, you'd hope that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I wonder how big the book is going to be. Sadia, thank you so much for that. And look, as Sadia says there, Tesla hasn't been doing great. You've got to remember, this is a company that's founded by Elon Musk that really didn't advertise at all. It was just sort of word of mouth. That's how people got to know it. And it became quite a behemoth for him. It's making him lots of money. Now they've tied him in. He's lost the distraction of working in the White House.
Yeah, that's
true. So will he
true.
now be able to focus on this? But remember, he's got those rockets that he needs to get people to the moon and to Mars with.
He's a busy
soon.
man.
He is a very busy man.
with
$1 trillion
big...
will focus the mind, I'm sure.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, Donald Trump built his political brand on economic strength, promising to make America rich again. But 1 year on from his election victory, the key word to emerge is affordability.
Well, as the longest government shutdown in the US continues, polls are showing that Trump's popularity is slipping. Well, it's something our US correspondent Mark Stone has been looking into. He sent us a little bit of his report.
Pennsylvania, remember, was key to propelling Trump back to the White House. In this swing state, they swung to his promises. Factories reopened and life more affordable. Here, though, it really isn't. Up the road, conversations outside the town's subsidized homes.
How much help do the people in this community need, do you think?
How much help?
How much help do they need?
As much as they can get. I mean, help is a four-letter word, but it has a big meaning. So help.
Do you get the sense people are needing more help now than they did a year ago?
Yes, sir. I believe they needed it then, and they need that much more now. You know, it's not hard to figure that out. The cost of living is high.
It's getting harder, and I'm a hard-working woman. You know, I don't get no food stamps. I don't, get none of that. You got to take care of them bills, or eat a little bit, or don't have the lights on. And then you have people like Mr. Melvin, who's been out here for years, serving the community.
Mr. Melvin runs the local food bank, and inside, a moment unfolds that cuts to the heart of the need here.
What's wrong?
I don't know. I'm so grateful. Like, this is crazy, all this.
Oh, God. What's wrong, man?
All this situation with the government is so crazy. Like, I'm not the only one who's suffering right now. I know there's a lot of older people that don't have family. And, like, for you to do all this is a blessing.
Isaiah 6:9 says, "Unto us a child was born, and a son shall be given.
Amen.
And the government shall be upon his shoulders." Not Trump's, not the Senate, not the House of Representatives, but his shoulders.
Geraldine is the face of 40 million Americans.
God bless you. So let's get you some stuff.
Okay.
Now not receiving the full nutritional assistance program usually provided by the federal government because it remains shut down.
And look, as Mark was saying there, it does remain shut down, no end in sight for that government shutdown, the longest now in history. And Donald Trump will be concerned after the elections this week of the new mayor of New York City, as well as governors in Virginia and New Jersey. Donald Trump, with a meeting with Republicans, said that something has to give now, something has to change. He realizes that his popularity is under threat. I mean, his approval ratings are down 18%, 39% approve, 58% disapprove. I mean, American presidents are never that popular in the country a year in, but Trump will be looking at this and looking at the fact that the government is still shut down and wondering what needs to change now to try and get some support back from his base.
And also it's going to be fascinating to see how he handles that new New York mayor as well. Really interested to see how he
there is going to be a battle.
Tackles all of that. There is going to be a battle. Let's move on, though, because Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has pressed charges against a drunk man who groped her on the street.
Yeah, the president described what happened as an assault on all women while calling on states in Mexico to make it easier for victims to report the assault. We're not going to play the video of the assault because it is, I mean, shocking.
It is really shocking, and we don't want to show such a graphic assault of somebody. But it has raised all sorts of conversations. I mean, she as well has said that she will press charges. She says she's doing it not just for herself, but on behalf of all women, because she has been very keen to highlight the issue of misogyny in her own country, but also the issue of violence against women, because it really is quite a serious issue there.
It definitely is a serious issue in Mexico. As the first female president of the country, Claudia Sheinbaum hopes to be turning a chapter in Mexico, not just in...
Who are these twins?
There's Millie, she's a brown girl.
Millie who?
Millie Cowell.
Millie Cow.
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. Breaking news, a new rogue object has been found hurtling through our solar system directly in between interstellar object 3I Atlas and Earth. This is C2025 V1 Borisov, first observed by Gennady Borisov of Crimea, who is the individual that first observed 2I Borisov, the second ever observed interstellar object. Now we have this object directly in between 3I Atlas and Earth that does not have a tail, just like 3I Atlas. There are a couple observations that detected some sort of tail. Most of them, though, show just a coma. Very anomalous, very bizarre, actually closer to the sun than 3I Atlas. We have new imagery of 3I Atlas post-perihelion. It was blasted by a ton of solar storms since its superior conjunction on the 21st through its perihelion, tons of light radiation, and yet even with all that, it is not showing any sort of obvious tail. That's very bizarre. And China has finally released their imagery of 3I Atlas as taken by the Tianwen probe orbiting around Mars back early October. It's a very low resolution image, but they finally released that. So the only group that we're waiting on now is NASA and I guess also the UAE, though I don't know how good those images and observations are going to be. So we have a new rogue object, as of right now classified as a comet, found directly in between 3I Atlas and the Earth. It's going to be performing its perihelion with the sun if it stays on its calculated orbital trajectory in mid-November. And we have new images of interstellar object 3I Atlas, which is still quite close into our sun, though it's getting closer and closer to Jupiter day by day. So with that, let's get right into it. We'll begin by looking at our 3D solar system visualization tool as provided by the Sky Live, and we have three different objects plotted here. First and foremost, 3I Atlas. Here's its hyperbolic trajectory cutting through the solar system. Here we have C2025 V1 Borisov going like this, and then we also have C2025 K1 Atlas. All three of these from the perspective of Earth pretty close together in the night sky. So K1 Atlas is an unusual comet. It does have a tail, but it's glowing a golden yellowish color, which is not that common. It can be found right now in the constellation of Leo. And then Borisov is found in the constellation of Virgo right next to 3I Atlas. Today it is the 6th of November, and we can see that if you were here, this is our Earth right there in blue. Look how close together these are. Very close together. If you go forward 2 days, we see that they're nearly in alignment, though we do have Borisov above the ecliptic plane. But we get this alignment between these three objects, the Earth, Borisov, and 3I Atlas, in just 2 days, which is a very interesting alignment. But if you go back today, this is where we see it is. It was first picked up around the 3rd of November, I believe, maybe a couple days before that, shooting up from below the ecliptic plane and going over like this. The perihelion of Borisov is going to be on the 16th of November. Though this object was just discovered, it originally was labeled as GB00810. So if you're doing research for yourself, you may get more hits on it using that label than C2025 V1 Borisov, at least right now. With time, that will update. But this is coming in from below, going above its perihelion. Again, will be on the 16th. Let's zoom forward to 16th to see what things look like then. And that is where we are. So we'll have Borisov close to Sun, but well above the ecliptic plane at that moment in time. And you'll notice here, that is roughly in alignment with the Earth for its perihelion. So as I've been talking about in the past few videos, we've been having tons of solar activity from the sunspots now on the Earth-facing side, which first started blasting tons of solar storms towards 3I Atlas on the 21st of October. And one of the reasons I think that they are blasting all these solar flares is because we have, towards Earth right now, it's because we have A6 Lemon nearby. So here I've added in A6 Lemon, and you'll notice that if we line this up, okay, so we are just going to move this over. Here's the Earth, there's the Sun, here's Lemon. The sunspots right now are facing A6 Lemon exactly. So we have that alignment occurring right now. This is actually, let's go back to like the 6th, 5th November. We see that still, we get that alignment, these sunspots in A6 Lemon. Now if we go to the perihelion of this new rogue object, we see that it will also be in alignment with the Sun and the Earth. And these sunspots are going to continue on and effectively reach this zone. So this could keep the solar activity high for a long period of time as a result of this. But this is very bizarre to have so many of these objects right now in the inner solar system. And this object right now, Borisov, we don't know what's going to do. It's very likely, and I would place probably my chips on it, just continue along its path and it being a comet. But it is bizarre that we detected it right as it basically showed up in between 3I Atlas and the Earth. And well, there's a lot of people talking, hey, we can't take these interstellar objects just de facto as comets every single time. I 100% agree with that. We have to look at them from new lenses. Doesn't mean it's alien or technology, that we should be open to these ideas and be prepared for them. But one of the big things people were talking about is, okay, well, if it's going to deploy probes, right, they need to get to Earth. Now we have this thing popping up right in between 3I Atlas and Earth. So just, it's almost like the universe, if this isn't aliens or technology, which is my base case, I don't think we just have evidence of that. But it's like the universe is saying, we're going to run through the simulation all the way so you can finally really get it drilled into that you need to be prepared for this. And then this is actually a test run. This isn't the real deal. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting. And I think the bigger story here is how this is going to affect solar activity. Right now we have a sequence of big solar storms about to hit. We just had a G3 minus geomagnetic storm. So you have minor, moderate, strong, severe, and extreme geomagnetic storms, big fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field. We nearly had a strong storm last night. We're expected to have a strong to even a severe storm in about 12 hours or so. And that sort of activity is likely to continue now, I think, due to the appearance of V1 Borisov here, very close to Earth within the orbit of Venus. As you can see here, here's Earth's orbit, there's Venus's orbit, even closer in. But what is so bizarre about Borisov is that it also does not have a tail. Only 2 observations of 10 show it having a tail. So let's check it out. And here we have another image of C2025 V1 Borisov, this new object that has just been found in between 3i Atlas and the Earth. We see it right there. This is a composite of stacked images. So basically he took Borisov and centered it, stacked it each time, which is why the stars are streaked out, because this is actually moving. And that's so you get these streaks for the stars, but you get this clean, crisp image of Borisov. We don't really see a tail. Has a little coma there, right? We're not seeing the nucleus in this, but it does not have a very obvious tail. I mean, maybe you get a little bit this direction, but it's open to interpretation. This is taken by Alpha Rats on Twitter X. I'll link this in the video description. And the magnitude right now for Borisov is in this like 13 zone. So 12, 13, 14 for the apparent magnitude, which isn't that bright. It's expected to get brighter for its perihelion. What is unusual is how bright interstellar object 3i Atlas is right now, much brighter than expected. Let's check it out. And here we have our light curve data for 3i Atlas. We see our first observations going back to July. Our orange line is the simple fit for its apparent magnitude, which is its brightness. We see that right here with our y-axis. So every single increase of 1 is a 2.54 times increase in brightness. So this does scale up pretty quick. And we see that it was below this simple fit line there until early September, when it started to jump up in brightness. We detected it also in this period here when Earth-based telescopes were not able to pick up 3i Atlas due to our CCOR1 coronagraph, also our C3 coronagraph from SOHO, and the NASA's Punch constellation saw that it was still brightening, and our latest value right there is 9.8. So there are also two other values there that are in this 10 zone. They're uncertain, but this right there is 9.8, much brighter than expected. So that simple fit line right there is showing 11.2 difference, 9.8. That is 1.4. Again, 1 is 2.54 times brighter than expected. So 3i Atlas is very bright right now at this time as to what was expected. It displayed a little bit of non-gravitational acceleration, which you would think would be due to off-gassing of some sort, right? Volatiles on the surface heating up, off-gassing, causing it to lose mass and to nudge away from its normal orbital